Nia had always heard stories about Maple Crest Academy. It was a school straight out of dreams. Tall, white pillars, a lush green field like a palace garden, and students who looked like they stepped out of magazines. The teachers wore tailored suits, spoke fluent British English, and drove sleek cars. Every time Nia passed the school's tall gate, she would peek through the iron bars and imagine what it would feel like to walk through those doors. It always felt impossible, until one afternoon changed everything. That day was scorching hot. Nia had just finished helping her mother rinse beans outside their one-room shack, getting them ready for the next morning's roadside sale. The room was dim, lit only by a crack in the door, but her mother's face glowed with emotion. "Nia," she whispered, voice trembling as she held out a white envelope. "You've been chosen." Nia blinked in confusion. "Chosen for what, Mama?" Her mother handed her the envelope. It had a golden crest printed on the corner, the official stamp of Maple Crest Academy. Nia's hands shook as she pulled out the letter. Her eyes skimmed the words. "Congratulations. Full scholarship, tuition, books, uniforms provided." She dropped to her knees. "Thank you, Jesus," she cried with joy, her eyes clouded with tears. That night her mother cooked the very last yam in the house. They ate it with palm oil and salt, their usual treat during special moments. Holding her daughter's hand, Mama said gently, "Never envy others. You don't know what sorrow lies behind their riches. Stay true, work hard, your time is coming." Nia nodded, silently promising herself she would make her mother proud. The next morning she stood outside the majestic gate of Maple Crest Academy, clutching her mother's old brown leather handbag. The sun was just rising and sleek cars were already pulling up, dropping off students with polished black shoes and designer bags. Some had chauffeurs. Others had parents kissing them goodbye. Nia stepped through the gates slowly. Her uniform was neat, provided by the school, but her shoes were clearly too big for her feet and patched more than once. In her hands was a stack of secondhand textbooks, their covers frayed and pages filled with scribbles from strangers. But she didn't mind. Her heart was filled with gratitude. She had made it to her dream school. Maple Crest was an exclusive school for the ultra-rich. The buildings were cream and white with golden accents. Classrooms had air conditioning, smartboards, and pristine desks. The cafeteria served jollof rice with grilled chicken, sweet plantains, and even ice cream on Fridays. Nia came from a street where children bathed using buckets of water fetched at night. Her mother sold cooked beans and millet porridge from a small stall near a construction site. Her father had passed away when she was 6. They never had much, but her mother raised her on kindness, resilience, and faith. At school, Nia sat in the front row. Her hand always shot up when questions were asked. She submitted her homework early and paid attention to every detail, but her dedication made her stick out. Most of her classmates laughed behind her back. They saw her as the girl with broken shoes, the one who brought boiled yam and no drink for lunch, the one who never went on school trips because she couldn't afford the fees. Some whispered when she passed by. Others laughed openly. Nia heard them. She just never let them know it. During breaks, she would walk to the far side of the school, sit under the old neem tree by the fence, and open her lunchbox. Some days it had boiled yam. Some days it had roasted peanuts. But Nia never complained. She was content. And slowly, despite everything, people began to notice her. She was quiet, but brilliant. When teachers asked questions, she answered with precision and explained with clarity that made even the staff nod in admiration. "Very sharp girl," her English teacher once said. "No wonder she got that scholarship. I'm proud of you, Nia." Before long, she became known around school. She was picked for spelling bees, science fairs, and debate tournaments. She won medals, brought trophies, and even had her photo placed on the school's honor board. But not everyone liked it. Some of the wealthier students began to feel threatened. "She's just a charity case," one boy muttered. "Doesn't belong here." "If we touch her, we might catch poverty," another joked. They moved their seats away from hers, avoided touching her, and told teachers they didn't want to sit beside her. Nia heard every cruel word. She smiled through it, but at home, alone at night, she often cried quietly into her pillow. Until one day, everything began to change. One afternoon, during a break, Nia was sitting under the neem tree again, carefully, peeling the skin off her boiled yam. The red palm oil glistened under the sun as she dipped each piece and quietly ate her meal alone. She avoided the cafeteria on purpose. She didn't want to be mocked for her food, her clothes, or her silence. Then, she saw Talia Rivers walking toward her. Nia immediately looked away. Everyone in Maple Crest Academy knew who Talia was. Beautiful, fashionable, loud, and adored. She had a way of entering a room that made people turn. Her school bag looked like it came straight off a runway, and her blazer was always perfectly tailored. Her hair smelled like imported roses, and her lip gloss shone like glass. Nia assumed she was coming to mock her like the rest, maybe say something clever for her friends to laugh at later. But to her surprise, Talia didn't insult her. She didn't even smirk. She sat down beside her. "Hey," Talia said casually, offering a smile. Nia looked up, confused. "Hi," Talia gestured to the spot next to Nia. "Mind if I sit here?" Nia blinked. No. It's okay." From across the lawn, heads began to turn. Students stared. Whispers spread quickly. "What's Talia doing with the scholarship, girl?" But Talia ignored them. "You're super smart, you know that?" she said. "Like, crazy smart. I wish I could do half of what you do in class." Nia didn't know how to respond. She mumbled a quiet, "Thank you." Talia leaned back on the bench, her skirt falling just above her knees. "Don't mind them," she said, nodding toward the girls giggling across the lawn. "They're just jealous. You're killing it." Nia's heart softened, and also grew cautious. Why was Talia Rivers, the girl everyone wanted to be, talking to her so kindly? Was it real? From that day, something shifted. Talia didn't just sit beside her during lunch. She made it a routine. Every morning she would walk into the classroom and head straight to Nia's desk. She became her sitmate, her partner in class projects, her shadow. At first, students whispered, "Is this a prank? What's going on?" But eventually, they accepted it. The mocking stopped, the whispers faded. And for the first time since she'd stepped into Maple Crest, Nia no longer felt like she was being watched for the wrong reasons. She and Talia became friends. They spoke about school, teachers, exam anxiety. They laughed about classmates' strange habits. Nia was always calm, gentle, and endlessly helpful. She never bragged, never rubbed her intelligence in anyone's face. Sometimes Talia would sigh, "Nia, I swear I don't know how your brain works. You get things so fast." Nia would smile. "I just like learning." Talia began joining her in the library after school. At first, she protested. "Ugh, not that dusty place. Again, it smells like old chalk and forgotten dreams." Nia would chuckle. "Only 30 minutes. I'll help you with the chemistry assignment." Talia groaned dramatically every time, but she followed her. Gradually, her grades started to climb. For the first time, she began passing her math and science tests. Each time she succeeded, she hugged Nia and whispered, "You're the reason I didn't fail." Nia felt proud, not because she had impressed someone popular, but because she had helped someone in need. One slow afternoon, while they were packing up their bags after a long study session, Talia grew quiet. "My dad's never home," she said softly, staring at her notebook. Nia looked up. "He's always flying somewhere. Sends money but barely texts. My mom, she doesn't care unless it's about her shoes or spa appointments. Says I embarrass her. That I'm not as brilliant as the girls in her country club." Nia sat silently for a while before gently placing her hand on Talia's. "I'm sorry." Talia blinked rapidly and then smiled faintly. "Thanks for being my friend." That was the first time anyone had called Nia a friend at Maple Crest. Their bond continued until the day they graduated. But after that, Everything changed. When graduation finally arrived at Maple Crest Academy, the campus buzzed with photo shoots, champagne, and farewell posts written like poetry. Students threw hats into the air, gathered in restaurants, and hosted rooftop parties that shimmered on social media timelines. But Nia didn't join any of it. She didn't take glamour shots or upload a nostalgic post. She didn't dine at fancy cafes or pop bottles of imported soda. Instead, she walked home with her certificate rolled neatly in her hand, hugged her mother tightly, and whispered a prayer of thanks. That evening, they shared a modest bowl of corn porridge, and Nia cleaned and folded her uniform for the last time. She wasn't sad. She was already looking ahead. Nia had secured admission into St. Emmanuel State University, a quiet public college, tucked in a dusty little town. It wasn't famous. It didn't have celebrity kids or award-winning architecture. The lecture halls were old, the fans barely worked, and the hostel had too many people squeezed into small rooms. But Nia didn't mind. She had seen hardship before. She knew how to adapt. In her free time, she began volunteering at a rundown community school in the nearby slum. The children there had never heard of private tutors. They wrote with broken pencils and sat on benches that creaked dangerously. But Nia saw hope in their eyes. She walked long distances every day, carrying her books and water bottle in a cloth bag, just to teach them the alphabet, how to count, and how to dream. They loved her. She gave more than just lessons. She gave them belief. But behind all that, kindness. Something bigger was quietly growing. In her third year, Nia teamed up with two classmates to build a low-cost device that could detect early signs of infections in rural clinics. It started as a school project in a dusty lab, surrounded by wires, sensors, and scribbled notebooks. Nia spent nights coding, testing, failing, fixing, over and over. At first, it was just a dream, but soon, professors noticed. Then doctors. Then investors. By the time she graduated, their little prototype had turned into a company. Her tech startup was already supplying health monitoring tools to clinics across the country. On her 23rd birthday, Nia quietly became a millionaire. But you couldn't tell by looking at her. She still wore simple clothes, still walked in sandals, still showed up to volunteer at schools with dust on her sleeves and hope in her eyes. Her social media remained low-key. No luxury bags, no beach resorts. Just updates about clean water drives, health outreach programs, and school donation events. Her profile description was just one word: teacher. Meanwhile, she had completely lost contact with Talia. They had promised to stay in touch after school, but promises fade when paths diverge. Talia had gone to Davenport City University, a private institution where ministers sent their children and tuition fees sounded like house payments. They had parted with a smile, but Nia's texts eventually stopped getting replies. Her calls went unanswered. Talia disappeared. At first, Nia assumed she was just busy with a new life. But deep inside, she missed her. She missed her dramatic eye rolls, her lazy complaints about the library, the way she always asked for help but never hesitated to laugh at herself. But life kept moving. While Nia's journey rose quietly like a dawn breeze, Talia's was stormy and loud, and falling apart fast. In her second year at Davenport City University, Talia Rivers' world imploded. The news broke suddenly. Her father, once a respected businessman with political connections, was named in a national scandal involving embezzlement, fraud, and offshore accounts. It dominated headlines for weeks. TV channels aired his mugshot. Newspapers printed their home address. Blogs speculated about every luxurious item they'd ever owned. The family's wealth? Frozen. Bank accounts seized. Cars repossessed. Reputation destroyed. For Talia, it was like waking up from a royal dream into a nightmare. Overnight, the tuition money stopped. The maids disappeared. The monthly allowance vanished. No more designer dresses. No more private chauffeurs. The dorm bill was unpaid. Her mother went silent, ashamed and unreachable, hiding from the church, friends, and society. Then came a letter, her transfer notice to Braxton Public University, a school for low-income students and scholarship dependents. She tore it up immediately. I'm not going to sit in class with people who microwave rice in lunch boxes, she snapped. Never. She refused to be seen riding public buses or wearing basic clothes from street stalls. Her pride and the last thing she had left held her hostage. People called. Some old friends texted to check on her. Even Nia sent a quiet message. I hope you're okay, I miss you. I'm here if you want to talk. Talia didn't reply. She changed her number and erased every trace of her old life, including Nia. But she wasn't done. She decided to create a new life. Not a real one, but a perfect-looking one. On Instagram, she became Talia Lux. She posted pictures in exotic cars, rented by the hour, snapped selfies in hotel lobbies, never checking in, just pretending. She borrowed designer clothes from a stylist friend, returned them the next day, and never wore the same outfit twice. Her captions were poetic lies. You don't know my hustle. Don't judge my shine. Boss lady in heels. Built, not bought. If you don't clap for me now, don't look for a seat later. Her followers grew. People commented with fire emojis and heart eyes. She smiled in every photo, laughed in every video, celebrated her birthday with a cake she didn't pay for and a venue she'd begged to use for 1 hour. Deep down, she knew it was all fake, but she didn't feel guilty. In fact, she loved the attention, the likes, the admiration, the illusion of being adored again. And the truth? Talia had never really changed. Back in school, when she first befriended Nia, it wasn't because of kindness. It was because Nia was rising, and Talia couldn't stand being overshadowed. She didn't like how a quiet girl with broken shoes became the top student. She couldn't bear watching teachers praise someone from the slums. Talia told herself she was helping Nia. But the truth was uglier. She looked down on her. She hated the smell of Nia's secondhand clothes, the way her shoes squeaked on the floors, the way she always seemed so calm, like she didn't need anyone's approval. She had never respected Nia. Not really. She had only stuck around because it made her feel generous, in control, important. But Nia never knew. She had called her a friend, trusted her, believed her kindness was real. Years passed, and then, one quiet Saturday morning, Nia opened her laptop and saw the email. Subject: Maple Crest Academy, 10-year reunion invitation. She stared at it, frozen. 10 years since she first stepped onto that campus. 10 years since she sat alone under the neem tree. 10 years since she met Talia. Her fingers trembled. She closed the laptop and sat on the edge of her bed, uncertain. Yes, she was successful now. Quietly, humbly. She lived in a modest home with a little garden. Her car was clean, not flashy. She wore ironed cotton dresses and flat shoes. She never liked noise, and she didn't crave attention. But would they laugh at her again? Would they see her simple look and mock her like before? That evening, she told her fiancé, Jordan Ease, about the reunion. Jordan was wise, calm, and fiercely protective. A tech entrepreneur like her, kind-hearted, with success written all over his quiet demeanor. They had met at a charity gala where Nia gave a powerful speech about rural education. While others bragged about profits and portfolios, she spoke from the soul. Jordan had fallen for her that night. 6 months later, under a starry sky at one of her school projects, he got down on one knee and said, I don't want to lose a woman like you. Please marry me. Now seated beside her, he squeezed her hand gently. You don't need to prove anything, he said. You shine without noise. Just be yourself. She smiled, the knot in her chest loosening. Then she thought of Talia. Had she changed? Did she remember the mango tree, the whispered jokes, the last hug? Maybe this reunion, Nia said quietly, will give me some answers. She didn't know that far away. In a glossy salon downtown, Talia was also reading the same email and laughing loudly. Across town, in a bustling high-end salon nestled between luxury stores and glittering restaurants, Talia Rivers burst into laughter as she read the subject line on her phone. Maple Crest Academy, 10-year reunion invitation. Her makeup artist paused, puzzled. Something funny? Talia grinned, twirling a lock of her sleek hair in her freshly manicured fingers. Oh, nothing, just Maple Crest wants to see what we've all become. And I'm about to show them what success looks like. Her eyes gleamed, not with joy, but with anticipation. She'd already started planning. The dress? A glittering, curve-hugging masterpiece, borrowed from an exclusive boutique in exchange for a collaboration tag on her Instagram. The shoes? Rented Louboutins, delivery arranged for the morning of the event. The purse? Loaned by a stylist, friend with connections to influencers. The perfume? A small bottle of imported rose eau, decanted into a luxury brand's empty bottle for effect. The entrance had to be legendary. Talia began scheduling a photo shoot. Luxury car, champagne, glass backdrop of a rented suite. She rehearsed captions that hinted at wealth without confirming its source. When you hustle in silence, success makes the noise. 10 years later, I walked in like I owned the place. She had no idea who else was coming, and frankly, she didn't care. Not once did the thought of Nia Benson cross her mind. To Talia, Nia was a chapter long closed. The village girl who probably became a schoolteacher or nurse somewhere deep in the countryside, forgotten by ambition and swallowed by simplicity. Talia had built a new image, one where she was rich, desired, envied. She didn't need reality. She had her carefully curated illusion. She was chasing a dream built on borrowed glitter, but it felt real enough. This is my moment, she whispered to her reflection in the salon mirror. Lipstick, poised, they'll never forget me. Meanwhile, across the city, in a quiet home lined with bookshelves and flower pots, Nia sat with her fiancé Jordan, going over the reunion details. The venue was upscale. The Regal Pavilion, a luxurious restaurant known for hosting elite weddings and business dinners. The kind of place where water was served in crystal glasses and menus didn't list prices. Nia's heart fluttered. She hadn't seen any of her classmates in years. Would they still judge her by her clothes? Her silence? Her simplicity? Jordan noticed her hesitation and placed a warm hand on her back. What are you thinking? Nia took a breath. I want to go, but I don't want to be laughed at again. You won't, Jordan said softly. They may not know it yet, but they're about to meet the woman the world now respects. She smiled at him. Then gently he added, I've made a small arrangement. Nothing loud, just a little something for your classmates. He didn't explain further, and Nia didn't ask. That was Jordan, always doing kind things in quiet ways. She nodded slowly. Okay, I'll go. As she began to pick out a dress, sky blue, modest, wrinkle-free, Talia was posing against a borrowed Mercedes outside a boutique hotel. A rented photographer clicked away as Talia tossed her curls, laughing for the camera, angling her body to hide the tag still clipped to her bag. She posted the first photo within minutes. Reunion ready. When grace meets glam, expect silence. Likes rolled in, and so both women prepared, one in silence, one in spotlight, both unaware that the truth would soon enter the room and change everything. The day of the reunion arrived faster than either woman expected. The Regal Pavilion shimmered in soft golden lighting, its marble floors polished to a mirror shine. Waiters in white gloves moved between elegant tables set with gleaming cutlery and delicate flower arrangements. Soft jazz filled the air as old classmates arrived, hugging, laughing, trying to recognize familiar faces from a decade ago. Then, the double doors swung open. Talia Rivers stepped in like a storm wrapped in silk. Her gown, gold and glittering, sparkled under the chandelier lights. Her borrowed purse glistened, and the bold jewelry on her neck and wrists gleamed like treasure, though it was nothing more than plated brass. Her makeup was immaculate, her heels tall and loud. Outside, a rented black luxury car idled at the curb, Paid for just 2 hours. Phones immediately flew into the air. Talia, wow, you look amazing. Girl, is that Versace? Please, selfie time. We need to capture this glow. Talia smiled confidently, striking her poses like a queen greeting her court. She laughed, loudly and perfectly, and soaked in every compliment like perfume. So tell us, someone asked, what's your secret? You look like you're living the dream. Talia giggled and flipped her hair. Well, let's just say life is easier when you're dating a billionaire. Gasps. Wait, who? Jordan Ease, she said with a wink. You know, the tech genius. The youngest CEO to land government contracts in 4 countries. That Jordan. Mouths fell open. No way, are you serious? Talia pulled out her phone and showed them doctored pictures, images she had edited the night before. One had her standing close to Jordan's side at an event. Another had their faces pasted over a romantic beach background. One showed him placing a kiss on her forehead, clearly manipulated, but no one looked too closely. You're dating that Jordan? Girl, you've arrived. Talia nodded proudly. Success, baby. Some of us were born for it. The praise washed over her. She bathed in it. Then someone asked, Hey, didn't you used to be really close with that scholarship girl? What was her name again? Nia? Talia let out a bark of laughter. Nia Benson? Oh, please. She's probably still in some dusty classroom writing lesson notes by candlelight. Everyone laughed. I heard she's a primary school teacher now, said another girl, Layla. Probably still eats boiled yam and teaches barefoot kids under a mango tree. Honestly, Talia added, sipping her juice like champagne, I don't even know why she got so much attention back then. All brains, no shine. She was always meant for the background. They all laughed, and that was when the door opened. Again. This time no camera flashed. No one turned. Until Layla glanced over and muttered, Wait, is that who I think it is? Heads turned, and silence rippled through the room. Nia Benson stood quietly at the entrance in a long sky blue gown. Her hair was pulled back in a neat bun, her flat simple and slightly dusty. She held a modest brown purse. No glitter, no jewelry, no makeup, just calm and peace. People blinked. Talia's smile turned into a smirk. Well, well, she said, loudly enough for all to hear. You actually showed up. Whispers rose like smoke. Is that her real dress? She looks like a school librarian. Did she take the bus here? No car? No driver? Some things never change. Nia heard every word, but her steps didn't falter. She walked forward with steady grace, her heart racing but her face composed. Talia, she said, smiling gently, it's really good to see you. She opened her arms for a hug. Talia recoiled instantly, waving her hand dramatically. Please don't come close with that church perfume. What's that smell? Nia froze, her smile dimming. I just came from Mass. I thought we could catch up. I've missed you. She reached into her small purse and pulled out a second phone. Can I have your number? Talia burst into laughter. With that phone? What is this, 2012? Can it even run WhatsApp? The group cracked up. Where's your iPhone, Nia? Still using buttons? Bet she still lives in that one-room house with her mom. Nia stood quietly, her smile now gone. She had expected awkwardness, maybe even indifference. But this cruelty, from the girl who once shared library benches with her, who once said thank you for friendship, it hurt more than she expected. Okay, she whispered. It's all right, because some of the deepest wounds don't come from enemies. They come from people we once held close. The music resumed. Laughter swirled again. Waiters poured red wine into long crystal glasses. This wine's expensive, someone said. Isn't this Chateau de la Rose? It's like $500,000. Per bottle. Layla looked at Talia and grinned. You're too generous, girl. Thank you for the treat. Talia lifted her glass, beaming. Enjoy it, it's a celebration. But she hadn't paid for it. She didn't correct the assumption, she loved the credit. From her seat at the corner table, Nia said nothing. She simply sipped her wine and smiled to herself. Because she knew exactly where the wine came from. Just before she left for the reunion, Jordan had kissed her forehead and whispered, I've arranged something small at the venue. Nothing flashy, just a little touch. He never said more, but now she knew. He had quietly covered the wine, the welcome, the atmosphere, as a quiet gift to the woman he loved. And still, she said nothing, until Layla looked over and sneered, Be careful with that glass, Nia. That bottle alone is worth more than your mom's entire village. The room howled with laughter. Talia stood, glass in hand, heels clicking with power. She walked slowly toward Nia, who looked up, still calm. You really like this wine? Talia asked sweetly. Before Nia could answer, Talia threw the half-full glass at her. The red wine splashed over Nia's head, drenching her dress, her hair, her dignity. Gasps echoed. Silence followed. Nia closed her eyes, then opened them, slowly. She didn't scream, didn't retaliate. She simply sat still, wet and glowing. Talia dropped the glass on the table and muttered smugly, She stinks of poverty. I just helped wash it off. And that's when the doors opened again, and everything, every lie, every mask, shattered in one breath. The grand doors at the regal pavilion opened once more, but this time no one laughed. No music played. No wine poured, because in walked a man whose presence silenced the entire room. Tall, composed, dressed in a tailored navy suit with polished black shoes, he carried himself with a quiet command. His eyes scanned the room slowly, and in his wake, the waiters froze. The hotel manager trailed behind him nervously, and the murmurs turned into gasps. It was Jordan Ease, the Jordan, the same tech mogul whose name made headlines, the one whose software company had revolutionized health infrastructure across Africa, the one whispered about in boardrooms and featured on magazine covers. Now standing in the doorway, Talia's eyes widened in disbelief. She quickly adjusted her gown and touched up her lipstick with a shaky hand. He came. He actually came. 1,000 thoughts ran through her mind. This is it. This is my moment to prove everything I said. She stepped forward quickly, wearing her sweetest smile. Jordan, baby, I didn't know you were coming, she said, reaching out. But he didn't stop. He walked right past her, not a glance, not a word, and headed straight for Nia, who still sat drenched in wine, her sky-blue gown stained deep red, her cheeks glistening not from makeup, but from quiet humiliation. The room held its breath. Without saying a word, Jordan reached her side, gently cupped her chin and wiped away a drop of wine from her temple. I'm sorry I'm late, love, he whispered, softly, but loud enough for everyone to hear. A wave of gasps swept the room like thunder. Someone dropped their glass. Layla nearly choked on her drink. Talia stood frozen, mouth parted, unable to form words. What is happening? Someone whispered. Jordan turned toward the room, his arm firmly around Nia's shoulders now. His voice was steady, not loud, but it didn't need to be. Everyone, meet my fiancé, Nia Benson, CEO of Benson MedTech, one of the fastest-growing health tech startups on the continent. A woman of integrity, brilliance, and quiet strength. She doesn't flaunt because she doesn't have to, and she shines brighter than any spotlight. Dead silence. People began reaching for their phones, frantically typing her name. And there it was, photos of Nia at health conferences, speaking at summits, standing beside presidents and global investors, her face next to international hospital logos, interviews from news channels, her Forbes feature, her foundation's name attached to school programs, water projects, and clinics in over 10 countries. Nia Benson, someone whispered, eyes wide. She's a billionaire. Others stared at her in disbelief, not because of her wealth, but because they'd mocked her, belittled her, and tried to humiliate her just moments ago, and she hadn't said a single word in return. Naya remained, still, graceful, strong. A storm in silence. She reached for a napkin and quietly wiped the remaining wine from her neck. She didn't gloat. Didn't smile. She didn't need to. The truth had arrived, and she had let it speak for itself. Talia stood rooted in place, her skin pale beneath her foundation. Her hands trembled as she tried to speak. I never said she wasn't his fiancé. You all just assumed I didn't. But you showed us edited photos, Layla snapped. You said he was your man, another classmate added. You laughed when we insulted her. You let us humiliate her. The murmurs became waves. Talia opened her mouth again, but the next interruption wasn't verbal. It was physical. The restaurant doors flung open with force, and a woman stormed in. She was older, dressed in a brightly patterned wrapper and matching headscarf, eyes burning with rage. There you are, she bellowed. You shameless girl. Gasps rippled again. Before anyone could stop her, the woman marched across the room, waving a phone in the air. Ask her why she's sleeping with my husband. Everyone turned to Talia. The woman shoved the phone into Nia's hands. Nia blinked, confused, then stared at the screen. Photos. Clear as day. Talia, hand in hand with a well-known married businessman, walking into a hotel lobby. Talia kissing. Him in a hallway. Talia sitting at an expensive restaurant wearing the same dress she wore on her Instagram birthday shoot. You used my husband's money to fake your life, the woman roared. The bags, the heels, the photos, all paid for with his blood pressure and lies. Talia stumbled backward. No, please. It's not what it looks like. But no one was listening. The same people who clapped for her earlier now covered their mouths in shock. Naya stood quietly, no anger in her eyes, only pity. Then, from the back, another man entered, short, balding, sweaty, clutching a folded paper in one hand. There she is, he shouted. That's the thief I've been looking for. Talia froze again. Mr. Chuka, please. You took my iPhone 15 Pro Max, he shouted. Said you'd pay the next day. That was 2 months ago. I was going to. Lies. Before anyone could stop him, he grabbed the phone from her hand, then reached for her fake gold necklace and yanked. This is mine too. Rented. For a shoot, you said. 2 hours, remember? He looked down at her designer heels. And these. Rented from my store. Take them off. No, please, Talia cried. Not here. Not in front of everyone. But it was too late. He bent down and unstrapped her heels one by one, leaving her barefoot on the cold, polished floor. Her glittering gown now looked ridiculous. Her shoulders slumped, her tears spilled. The silence in the room was suffocating, and from one corner someone whispered what everyone was thinking. She even rented her whole life. Talia sat frozen in the chair, barefoot, her skin clammy with panic. The shimmer of her golden dress now looked dull beneath the harsh truth that filled the air. Around her, whispers had turned into murmurs of disbelief and pity. She had been exposed, not by enemies, but by her own lies. The fake necklace lay on the table, the rented heels now gone, her pride stripped layer by layer in front of the very people she came to impress. No one stepped forward to defend her. No one offered a napkin, a glass of water, or a comforting word. Not even Layla, who had just hours ago toasted her. And across the room, standing calmly in a soaked sky-blue dress, was Nia Benson, the woman she had once mocked, used, and cast aside. The woman who hadn't lifted a finger to humiliate her, yet stood undefeated by everything thrown her way. Nia didn't speak. She didn't gloat. She simply watched, silent as grace, solid as truth. Then came a voice, quiet but powerful. You never changed. It was Yvette, one of their classmates who had once laughed along with the crowd. She stepped toward Nia, eyes glossy with regret. Back in school we were cruel. But you always carried yourself with dignity, even when we didn't deserve. Your kindness." Others nodded. Layla looked down in shame, and for the first time Talia realized the weight of what she had lost. Not just reputation or fake status, but something deeper. The trust of the one person who had ever genuinely helped her without asking for anything in return. Then she looked up, tearfully, and locked eyes with Nia. But Nia turned away, not in bitterness, but in quiet sorrow, because some betrayals don't break hearts. They simply close doors. The night after the reunion, the once sparkling city felt unbearably quiet to Talia Rivers. She sat cross-legged on the bare mattress of her tiny one-room flat, tucked behind a noisy mechanic workshop. The pink wallpaper peeled at the corners. The standing fan clicked with every slow, exhausted turn. The glow of her phone illuminated her tear-stained face as she scrolled aimlessly through old photos. There they were, she and Nia Benson under the neem tree back at Crest Academy, laughing in uniforms, no filters, no lashes. Just two teenage girls, one rich, one poor, but both human, both full of dreams. Talia remembered Nia's quiet smile, her patience, her hand on hers that day she'd admitted her parents never saw her. She remembered how safe she felt, beside her, and how easily she'd thrown it away. Her chest tightened. She opened the messaging app, heart racing, but stopped halfway. She had no number. She had mocked the phone Nia used and laughed in her face when she offered it. "I was too proud to keep the one thing that was real," she whispered, voice breaking. She opened her browser and searched Benson MedTech Foundation. Contactin'. Address popped up. She wrote it down. The next morning, Talia dressed in the only clean outfit she had, a faded cream blouse and loose brown skirt. Her heels were long gone. She wore simple flats, borrowed from the neighbor's sister. No makeup, no lashes, no perfume. She stood outside the tall glass building that read Benson MedTech Humanitarian Wing in gold letters. It looked nothing like the life she had created online. She hesitated, then stepped inside. The receptionist gave her a polite nod. "Good morning, do you have an appointment?" "No," Talia said softly. "But I'm her old classmate. I need to see Ms. Nia Benson. Just for a minute. Please." The woman smiled apologetically. "I'm sorry. Her schedule is completely full for the next 4 months." Talia's heart sank. She turned toward the door. But fate had something else in mind. At that very moment, the elevator at the far end of the lobby chimed open. Nia stepped out. She wore a simple beige blouse, blue ankle-length skirt, and her usual brown flats. Her hair was tied back and her only accessory was a paper folder in her hands. Their eyes met. Talia froze. Her throat tightened. Her knees buckled and then, right there on the marble floor, she fell to her knees trembling. "Nia," she whispered, voice cracking. "I'm sorry." Heads turned. She didn't care. "I'm really sorry." Nia paused. Calm. Collected. Talia's voice trembled. "I was jealous. You were everything I could never be. Strong, kind, whole. I thought if I looked rich, I'd matter. But I lost everything chasing lies." Tears spilled from her eyes. "And I hurt the only person who ever saw the real me." Nia stood in silence. Then slowly, gracefully, she walked forward and reached out her hand. "Talia," she said, lifting her gently from the floor, "I forgive you." Talia cried harder. "I don't deserve it." "Maybe not," Nia replied softly. "But that's not what forgiveness is about." Talia's shoulders shook. "I have nothing left." "That's okay," Nia said. "You can rebuild. If you choose to be real this time." She reached into her folder and pulled out a white envelope. "This is an offer letter. Entry level. My foundation always needs dedicated hands. It's not glamour, but it's honest work." Talia clutched the envelope, stunned. "You'd give me a job? After everything?" "I want to see you rise," Nia replied. "Not through filters, through effort, through truth." Her tone turned firm. We may not be friends again. That trust is gone, but I believe people can change if they're willing. Talia nodded, eyes down, voice shaking. I'm willing. Talia Rivers showed up to her first day at work wearing a plain white blouse and simple black trousers. No filters, no foundation, no heels. Just her name badge, a borrowed notepad, and her trembling hands. She was assigned to the logistics team at Benson MedTech Foundation, handling school kit distributions for rural children. The pay was modest, the work was tiring. But for the first time in years, everything she did was real. No more selfies in rented gowns. No more captions about soft life. Just silence, sweat, and service. Each morning she arrived early. Each evening she left late. She stopped chasing men with yachts and started learning how to budget, how to live honestly, how to be accountable. It wasn't easy. Some nights she cried herself to sleep thinking about how far she'd fallen. But slowly something grew inside her. Not ego, not pride, but peace. She deleted her fake Instagram account, the one with 80,000 followers, the one where every post had been a lie. She opened a new one, with her real name, real face, and real smile. The bio read, rebuilding, brick by brick. This time I'm not faking it. She also enrolled in evening classes at a public university, studying nonprofit administration. No one recognized her on campus. And that was okay. She wasn't there to be noticed. Meanwhile, Nia Benson returned to her world with quiet confidence. She didn't speak about what happened at the reunion. She didn't post about Talia's downfall. She didn't need validation. Her life was already full, not with noise, but with purpose. She continued building health centers across underdeveloped regions. She visited children in dusty schools, helping them see education not as a luxury, but a right. She trained young girls to code. She funded scholarships for rural kids who reminded her of herself. And every night, she returned home to peace. To her bookshelf, her garden, her journal, and to Jordan Ease, the man who had stood by her side, not because of her wealth, but because of her heart. Their wedding was nothing like society expected. No Instagram livestream, no celebrity guest list, no diamond-studded dress. Just a quiet church in the countryside, soft music, handwritten vows, and laughter that came from the soul. Her mother wore a bright purple geal and cried throughout the ceremony. Jordan's vows were simple. You don't speak to impress, you speak to uplift. You don't shine for attention, you shine because that's who you are. I didn't fall in love with a billionaire. I fell in love with you, Nia Benson, the girl who taught under trees and built empires in silence. They kissed under the open sky, and there wasn't a dry eye in the garden. Months later, while delivering school supplies in a remote village, Nia spotted a girl, dark-skinned, thin, with patched shoes, standing quietly beside a classroom, or hugging a notebook. She reminded Nia of someone. She walked over, smiled, and said, "What's your name?" The girl whispered, "Zena." "And what do you want to become?" The girl looked up, eyes bright. "A doctor, so I can help people like my grandma." Nia placed a hand on her shoulder. "You will," she said. "And when you're ready, I'll be here." Because that was her legacy. Not just wealth, not just innovation, but lifting the next girl who stood behind the gate, watching from the outside, waiting for someone to believe in her. And so, this story didn't end with applause. It ended with something stronger, a hand held out, a life rebuilt, a quiet woman who changed the world, without ever needing to shout, because the loudest impact is made by the ones who rise in silence and stay kind.